Oh my god, Red is making another phone. Yeah, after that whole fiasco, they're like, who's up for round 2? We haven't talked about the Red hydrogen phone in a long time because, well, there's just not that much to talk about. But now that we finally have some more recent news to cover on the topic, let's begin. So Jim, the founder of the original Red Hydrogen 1, this morning offered a partial explanation as to why the phone didn't do very well and is obviously, as Red as a company has done in the past, pushing blame towards others, but not giving very much specifics at the same time, which is another way of just saying, hey, it wasn't our fault, and then if we follow up that question and say, well, whose fault was it, then they can say, well, that's secret. We're not going to talk about them. Essentially what he said was, Hydrogen 1's Chinese ODM, as in the original design manufacturer, has not been able to manufacture the phone in a realistic manner, significantly underperforming what the Hydrogen phone was trying to achieve and making it impossible to fix the issues with the phone. There is so much to unpack with that. There's so many issues that I'm going to try to explain in this video. For one, there are lots of smartphones. In fact, the majority of smartphones are manufactured in China. So if you're trying to blame a specific Chinese company, but also not saying what that Chinese company is for the failed manufacturing, it's not that understandable of an excuse given iPhones, Galaxies, most of these are manufactured in China as well. So it's not like that infrastructure is incapable of manufacturing quality products. It has nothing to do with that industry. It just means you must have chosen a company that can't make what you were promising people, which on top of that is still not ultimately their fault. That is still on you. If Foxconn screwed up iPhones and started sending them out and they had manufacturing problems or they weren't delivering the experience that Apple had promised to their market, do you think people are just going to start getting angry at Foxconn, or do you think they're going to get angry at Apple? Of course they're going to get angry at Apple, because it's Apple's job to ensure that the people manufacturing their smartphones and the people putting them together are doing a good job. So the fact that you chose a factory line or you chose a Chinese company that isn't able to ensure the quality they were hoping for on the Hydrogen 1, that's still on you, dude. That's not pushing the blame somewhere else. If you chose a company that can't do what you need, then it's up to you to find a company that can do what you need. And given how long it took for the Hydrogen phone to come out, like the day they announced it, they literally just tweeted out that picture and people were like messing with the exposure to try to get more info on it, and they were intentionally vague. They were like, it has this 3D holographic display and a camera unlike any other in a smartphone, and they instantly just started accepting money orders for it. They were instantly like, okay, so we've sold you on this device, time to start accepting $1,500 per unit. There were multiple different versions of it, the aluminum version and the titanium version, and then they couldn't figure out how to make the titanium version. Granted, this was nearly like 2 years after they originally announced it and charged people's accounts for it, so that by the time it actually shipped and came out, the hardware in it was so dated, not to mention once they finally showed the front of the phone, it wasn't too pretty. It did not look very good. In my opinion, looked very uncomfortable to hold. And even if they had this grand vision of modularity that you'd be able to use lenses with it, it was still being powered by a Snapdragon 835. And Red, if you're so well known for your video codecs and your video cameras, the fact that your phone can't even do what an iPhone 8 could do for half the price, film a simple 4K at 60 video, does not look good for the most premium camera company in the world. Red makes amazing cameras. They also sell a lot of very, very expensive accessories for those cameras, but it's mostly because the market they're catering to, they know they're willing to pay for it. Why do you also have to be a player in the smartphone game? I don't understand it. They have confirmed that they're working on a second one, which is tended to be a complementary camera for cinema-grade images at the highest level at low pricing, but knowing it's Red saying it's low pricing, I just feel like that means it's going to be $900 and have a average camera. Once reviewers actually started testing out the Hydrogen phone's camera, it was incredibly average, and I think it's because Red is coming at the smartphone market the way they came at cameras in the past. They're just like, okay, we need to make sure it's got a good sensor and then make sure you have attachments so that you can basically replace the brain of a Red camera with a smartphone. But the thing is, no one really needs that. The companies that are filming these high-quality studio productions, or Hollywood that's filming huge movies on Red cameras, they're not looking to replace the brain of the camera with an an Android phone with a Qualcomm chip in the inside, mostly because it looks like an awful phone. It's an incredibly expensive phone, and the people that are going to shoot with Red cameras anyway are just going to buy the Red cameras themselves. They don't need to buy a phone because it's not going to be like, okay, we're filming on the movie set. Quiet, everybody. Okay, we're getting this really cinematic shot. Oh, I got a phone call. Turn off all the lenses. We got to detach everything. Let me pull this out here. Oh, okay. Hello, who is this? You're trying to combine two things that really don't need to be combined. I'm all for diversity in the smartphone market. You know, I get it. We want lots of different takes, lots of different companies making different smartphones so that everybody can have a phone that fits their needs best. Competition is good. I get that, but it's a little bit different when the smartphone market's in decline. There are less people upgrading than ever before, meaning that the smartphone market right now doesn't exactly need more saturation. Just because most people are buying from the same two companies, that's Apple and Samsung, if you consider the rest of the world Huawei as well, they're not buying from those companies because those companies are the only ones making smartphones. There are tons of companies making smartphones, but the reason those main three companies are so popular is because those companies are the only ones producing smartphone units that people actually want to buy into. If you're not going to bring anything very enticing or very interesting for the mass markets out there, why even bother unless you just want people to criticize you? Because with the red hydrogen phone, there was plenty to criticize from. There were some diehard Red fans out there that really wanted to defend it, but for the most part, everyone just kind of looked at it and laughed. The fact that they're coming up again and they're trying to pull this off a second time just feels like a waste, in my opinion. It's like, guys, you have so many other cameras and accessories you could be working on right now for your company. Clearly, a lot of people buy into that side of you, so just focus on that. You know, it's kind of like if Tesla decided they wanted to start making a phone, I would be like, no, guys, we've got so many phones on the market already. I don't think we need more. Like, just focus on making cars and making them cheaper and making them better. Just focus on that. There's certain companies that don't really need to diversify their product line that drastically, and Red is definitely one where I feel like we've seen their track record of producing phones in the past, and they clearly don't know what most people want or what most people are looking for, or even what videographers or photographers want in regards to what a smartphone camera can do, because getting a good performing video camera and photo camera on a smartphone is a totally different battle than cinema grade Hollywood cameras. It's all about computational image processing, how the phone's able to render it in real time, how it's able to mask out backgrounds to imitate bokeh, and how it handles high dynamic range. It's a totally different system on a smartphone, and the Red Hydrogen 1 should be evidence that even in the era of the Pixel image processing and the iPhone's videography, Red didn't know what to do when given the task to complete a smartphone and start shipping it to people. They had no idea what people wanted, and they weren't able to make a camera that was even close to competing with the flagships of the time. Having seen lots of pictures and videos that were shot on the Hydrogen 1, it wasn't groundbreaking by any means. If you think you're suddenly gonna just save it all by making lens attachments or selling accessories that will make these giant bulky modules the Red Hydrogen 1 can look through, still, if someone's in that kind of budget and they're filming a movie, they're just gonna get a real camera, not an Android phone. That's what worries me about hearing about the second generation Red Hydrogen phone. Is this thing also going to ship with the Snapdragon 855 2 years from now, when that thing is long dated and not able to keep up at all with what other smartphones are doing at this point? God, it makes no sense to me, but I'm sure I ticked off some of you, or maybe you agree with me. Let me know where you stand by hitting me up over on Twitter or joining our Discord. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you guys in the next one.